Hit the wrong button. Hello everyone, this is Reverend Dr. Roger Paul. I'm here with the group, my wife, Reverend Diane Paul. And tonight we're going to continue our study of paper 105, Deity and Reality. And this is the third part of that study. And it starts on page 1159 in the original book, or paper 10561. So let me say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight to have the opportunity to study this wonderful revelation. Pray that you'll watch over us tonight and help us understand this, that we might share it with other people. And we pray that you'll be with us when we leave here and help us remember some of this. Very difficult. We say this in the name of your Son, Michael. Your will be done in our lives daily. Amen. Okay, repercussions of finite reality. The entire promulgation of finite existence represents a transference from potentials to actuals within the absolute associations of functional infinity. Of the many repercussions to creative actualization of the finite, there may be cited. We're going to have these next. Before I move off the slide, though, I do want to say a couple things about it. First, they mention here the potentials to actuals. So everything that is potential to God the Father, potential to happen, that's what they're talking about, is the finite reality starts as potential and it moves to actuals through time. And it's the same way with finite functions or the things we do in our lives, all the way through the expansion of the four outer space levels. So we have potentials that eventually eventuate into actuals over time. And this is the repercussion of this process happening. So let's go on to the first one. And Millie, would you start us out tonight on this one?
Millie, you need to unmute your mic.
I just had to turn it up because I sneezed. You did want to hear me sneeze. Number one, daily response. The appearance of the three levels of experiential supremacy. The actuality of personal spirit supremacy in harmony. The potential for personal power supremacy in the grand universe to be, and the capacity for some unknown function of experiential mind acting on some level of supremacy in the future, master universe.
Okay, so here we have everything from the finite all the way up to the super infinite. Okay, and the first one they're talking about here is the deity response. Okay, and what they're talking about, the deity response, is the experiential supreme coming into full fruition. Okay. And so it starts out by our experience, and it's all these experiences from billions of beings going into the supreme. And as that happens, we have a personal spirit supremacy in Havona, because the supreme will not only be in the local universe, but eventually be in Havona in the master universe. So, and that's what they're talking about later on in the paragraph, the potential for personal power supremacy, the grand universe to be the unknown function of experiential mind, and the supremacy in the future master universe. Remember those three triangles? Let me see if I can show you real quick. They talk about the supreme, right here. It's not that one. Okay, here we go. The ultimate supremacy, the evolved supreme being. This is the eventuated supreme over time, right? And then the seven prime creators and the architects of the master universe. Remember when they talk about the architects of the master universe being in the outer space levels? Okay, so this is ultimately what will happen in this Trinity. Okay, and then we also have the Supreme Being here, and the eventuated ultimate being, transcendental absolute deity right here, right? And right here, right, also. So we'll have the Supreme and also the, gosh, I guess we're going to lost my mind for a second.
It's kind of complicated. Anyway.
The second level of the Supreme, and I can't believe it, I don't know why, I can't remember that. It's right here somewhere, just can't read it. Yeah. Well, it's been wrong. Well, Roger gets his brain back. All right? Next.
Roger, is it absolute?
Yeah, the absolute. That's exactly right. That's what I couldn't think of.
Thank you, Rodney.
Believe it or not, sometimes this stuff goes in and out of my mind too. Just like not being able to remember the name of the guy that reads the book, you know.
Rodney seems to have good retention powers.
There you go.
He does, he does.
It's easier to teach it when it's right in front of you. You know? All right, let's go on to the next one. Stephen, you want to take the next one for us, please?
Okay. The universe response involved an activation of the architectural plans of the super-universe space level, and this evolution is still progressing throughout the physical organization of the 7 super-universes.
Okay, the architectural plan they're talking about is the master architects we just saw in that previous slide, right? Within the ultimate Trinity. And what they're talking about is their plan coming into existence over time. And first it happens in the super universe level, the universe level including the 7 super universes, and over time it'll also happen in the 4 outer space levels, right? So right now it's still evolving through the physical organization of the 7 super universes, but later on it will be the physical organization of the outer space levels, right?
I
And
don't seem to be able to wrap my head around outer space levels.
yeah, I know it's hard to get.
Down the road.
Yeah,
It's so far down the road.
It's so far down the road, it's hard to even perceive of it, really. But we do know there's something after these 7 super universes. That's the main point. All right?
I'm glad I didn't deal with anything other than 4 outer space
Yeah, really.
after that.
You know. Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Change the ship. Yeah.
A little slower, sorry.
K. 3. The creature repercussion to finite reality communication resulted in the appearance of perfect beings on the order of the eternal inhabitants of Havana and of perfected evolutionary ascenders from the 7 super universes. But to attain perfection as an evolutionary, time creative experience implies something other than perfection as a point of departure. Thus arises imperfection in the evolutionary creations. And this is the origin of potential evil, misadaptation, disharmony, and conflict. All these things are inherent in the evolutionary growth from physical universes to personal creatures.
Okay, so what they're talking about here is we have creatures that are perfect in Havana already, okay? And you take that, they're talking about creature repercussion to finite reality promulgation. So what are they talking about? They're talking about imperfect beings migrating slowly into Havana as they grow, right? So you have a mixture of perfect beings and less than perfect beings because their point of departure is the finite, right? So the perfect beings are already there in Havona, but the non-perfect beings are moving toward perfection as we go through our plan of going through the universes and ending up in Havona. We learn as we go. But because we're finite, there's always that possibility of evil, right? Or the misadaptation of God's plan for us in the universe. And this is inherent in all finite beings that start out from there, right? And where you have evolutionary growth. If we did not start out as finite beings, there would be no reason to have evolutionary growth, would they? Because we'd always be perfect. So it's our experience as imperfect beings dealing with the misadaptations and the disharmony and the conflicts that result from that. Our experience of that helps add to the experience of the Supreme, but it also adds to the Havona natives because they communicate with us when we get to Havona, and they get to understand this evolutionary process because they were born perfect from the beginning, right? So it works both ways. We get the experience of climbing up, but they get the experience of understanding going down at the same time.
So Roger,
Yeah.
once we fuse with our thought adjuster, is there a possibility that we could become evil?
No.
Okay, can there be any evil in Havana?
No, there wouldn't be evil in Havona. Once you get past the Morancha level, Rodney, all that is in the past. When you hit the spiritual level, that's when you start your track on Havona, right? Actually, you started before that. But once you get to Havona, everything that you deal with is perfection, okay? But there is no record of ever having a rebellious being that's fused with their thought adjuster. And why would that be? Because you take the finite and you merge it with deity, okay? Deity being God the Father. So when we fuse with the adjuster, we have instilled within us an actual Father fragment. So we become, in essence, deity instilled. Make sense? And that because that deity installation within us, there's no possibility we're going to rebel against ourselves. Right?
Not that cool.
Yeah.
Is there potential for evil in the mansion worlds?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Matter of fact, the Lucifer rebellion, that was part of the problem. The people or the beings that were trying to spread the Lucifer rebellion were going to the mansion worlds and trying to convince all the ascenders that they should follow Lucifer rather than following the path to which they fuse with the adjusters. And when they tried to convert the beings that had already fused on the fifth mansion world and above, they just ignored them. And they would have nothing to do with it because they have that father fragment instilled within them. Now the interesting part, which is something I just worked on yesterday, is the point of fusion. You can fuse with your thought adjuster on this planet and you get taken up in chariots of fire, right? I mean, your body is just dissolved. You go directly to the mansion worlds. Or you can go through the first 4 or 5 mansion worlds and fuse with the adjuster then. Also, there are some beings that do not fuse with their thought adjuster until they get on the capital or even on the local universe capital. So there's some beings that take longer to fuse with their adjuster than others. So you can fuse with your adjuster. They talked about some beings from this planet, when you leave this planet, you die and you leave this planet, when you wake up you fuse with your adjuster automatically. Which would be really nice when you hit the mansion worlds, you know. But the concept of rebellion to a being that's been fused would be repugnant because you're not going to rebel against yourself. You don't realize how much the adjuster becomes part of you, you give it personality, and it gives you deity, right? That's when you become what they call real sons of God, right? When you fuse with the adjuster. In this world, we're faith sons of God. We have faith that we will fuse, right? But to the adjuster, even in this planet, once you've made a total mind, soul commitment to following the Father's will, as far as the adjuster is confused, you are already betrothed to Him for fusion. Okay? So once you decide in your life, I will always do my best to follow the Father's will, then to the adjuster that's within you, he accepts it as a fact that you will fuse. That's all there is to it.
So Roger, if some beings do not fuse until they get to the capital, then there's a potential for evil there.
All the way up through there, Rodney, even on the capital. Okay? As long as you have imperfect beings, non-fused, you will always have that potential. Now, think about this too. The beings that started the rebellion were not finite, right? Lucifer was the head of the whole local system, but he did not have a thought adjuster. The local sons and daughters, including all the support personnel, none of them have thought adjusters. Thought adjusters are only given to the lowest level human beings, and then they go on a progressive program. The only way an Adam and Eve or a material son or daughter gets a thought adjuster is if they come and serve on a planet of finite beings. Then they're instilled with a thought adjuster at that point. So, and that thought adjuster stays with them all the way up through their career. But created the way they were as local universe citizens, they're not given thought adjusters. Okay. So imperfection exists outside of just the original planet. Imperfection also exists all the way through the mansion worlds, at least until the constellation stage. And that's when you start your spirit status. By that time, you will have fused with your adjuster. Now, there is one caveat to that. There are what's called sun-fused or spirit-fused beings also that cannot fuse with the adjuster. But when they fuse with that sun fragment or spirit fragment, they also will not rebel because it's their deity part, right? Once a being is fused with deity, then there's no reason for them to ever to rebel because they understand the program, they understand the installation within themselves, and it would be like rebelling against themselves, right? It'd be like having two minds, right?
Well, thank you.
Sure. Oops. Okay, 4. Rodney, I think this one's yours. Rodney just wrote, well, Diane, it's yours.
For the divinity response to the imperfection inherent in the time lag of evolution is disclosed in the compensating presence of God the Sevenfold, by whose activities that which is perfecting is integrated with both the perfect and the perfected. This time lag is inseparable from evolution, which is creativity in time. Because of it, as well as for other reasons, the almighty power of the Supreme is predicated on the divinity successes of God the Sevenfold. This time lag makes possible creature participation in divine creation by permitting creature personalities to become partners with deity in the attainment of maximum development. Even the material mind of the mortal creature thus becomes partner with the divine adjuster in the dualization of the immortal soul. God the Sevenfold also provides techniques of compensation for the experiential limitations of inherent perfection, as well as compensating for the pre-ascension limitations of imperfection.
Okay, so what are they talking about God the Sevenfold? Where's my slide for that?
Oh, I have it. Oops.
Let's put yours up here. because this is, for some reason, this copy of this didn't have it.
You went backwards on this one.
No, it's not there. Okay, let me just go back and stay on the slide, and I'm gonna go through the seven levels of God the sevenfold. And they are: 1, the paradise creator sons; 2, the ancients of days; 3, the 7 master spirits; 4, the supreme being; 5, God the Spirit; 6, God the Son; and 7, God the Father. Now, this is the compensating factor of the difference between finite or time-lagged evolution to perfection. Okay, so this God the sevenfold, the Creator Sons created us, right? Paradise Creator Sons. So we have to go through that. We have to go by the Ancients of Days for judgment to continue on. We have to go through the 7 master spirits and eventually experience the Supreme Being, and also God the Spirit, God the Son, God the Father, in that order. Okay? And because of the way this is set up, the Almighty Supreme, which is the next level of the Supreme for the outer space levels, is starting to unfold also. And the experience of all these 7, the 7 levels of God the sevenfold goes into the Supreme also. Okay? And they all become partners with the creature in instilling the creature with deity through the thought adjuster. Now, how does that happen? The thought adjuster, because of our mind, our mindal circuit is the circuit of the local universe, to start out with the 7 adjutants, okay, until we get to the mansion worlds, and then we tap into the cosmic mind. But the mind in personality, in addition to the adjuster, those 3 things create the soul. And why is that important? Because the soul is what we wakes up and we realize on the first mansion world when we're repersonalized. It's the soul that is our guidance to the cosmic mind. Okay? So that soul is partly adjuster, partly mindful, and partly our personality. Okay, and those 3 things build the soul. Now, where does the soul go right after we die? It's a mystery. We do know that it's the beings that's in charge to make sure your soul gets to the mansion world is the archangels. Not the seraphim that keeps your records, but the archangels of local planets. Okay? They make sure that your soul gets transported to the mansion worlds, so that when the adjuster shows up and your seraphim shows up, the soul is available to put in your new Morancha body. Okay? And that's what gives you the ability to recognize Morancha Moda and tap into the cosmic, local universe, cosmic mind. Okay? You don't need the adjutants, the 7 adjutants anymore, because you have a soul that taps into the local universe, cosmic mind. So the adjutants stay with the planets. When you go to the mansion world, then we're connected with the cosmic mind, not the adjutant mind spirits. Okay? Is that too much, or y'all understand?
Roger,
Yeah.
I thought the guardian angel was in charge of our soul.
No, the guardian angel is in charge of your record, your personality record, everything that's happened to you. It's the archangel that's in charge of making sure the record and your soul gets to the mansion world. You know, we don't talk a lot about the archangel because the seraphim are so important to us, but the archangel corps on this planet is huge, all right? And it's the archangel corps that keeps record of your soul. So if a guardian angel was to go into rebellion like happened in this universe, the archangel steps in and takes control of that record or your personality record, everything that's happened to you, to make sure that it gets to the mansion world. So it's a checkpoint, in essence. So it's the Archangel Corps that's in charge of everything, making sure everything gets done right. But it's the Seraphim that keeps your record of everything that happens to you, right?
And the thought adjuster goes to the Deity and back.
Immediately upon death, the thought adjuster goes to Dennington, checks in with Dennington, and if you're slated to go on to the mansion world on the third day, he immediately goes to the mansion worlds for the reassembly of your personality with your soul, okay, in the new Morancha form. So that
The thought
happens.
adjuster can do that within 3 days.
Yes, within 3 periods, they say. And they say most of that time is spent on your versa registering in that he's gone and come back. Okay, that you're ready to be reborn. Now, keep in mind that the thought adjuster, if you have not reached the 3rd psychic circle, you won't wake up on the 3rd day. You'll wait to a planetary dispensation to wake up. They bring masses of beings all at the same time. If that be the case, your thought adjuster goes to Divinington, and in the meantime, he gets assigned to other things in Divinington, and we'll go over all that when we talk about personality survival. But there's several things that the thought adjuster can do in schooling and that sort of thing, or observation, while he's waiting for the planetary dispensation to happen to go back to reunite with the being. He's not assigned to another being until you reunite. If you do not survive, he'll be reassigned. But as long as you have survival potential, he will wait in Divinington until it's time for you to be revived on the mansion worlds.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. That's right. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Right, who's it up?
You are.
Okay, I'm going to let Millie read.
Okay.
Millie, would you take this one? She's still
Bring your mic.
Did you want me to read this one?
Please, Millie.
7. Eventuation of transcendentals. Transcendentals are sub-infinite and sub-absolute, but super-finite and super-creatural.
Creational. Yeah, create. Yeah.
Transcendentals eventuate as an integrated level, correlating the super values of absolutes with the maximum values of finites. From the creature standpoint, that which is transcendental would appear to have eventuated as a consequence of the finite. From the eternity viewpoint, in anticipation of a finite. And there are those who have considered it as a pre-echo finite.
Okay, so transcendentals are not infinite, and they're not finite. They're not absolute. They're super finite, and they're a super creatural. And they basically eventuate. Now I have a slide right after this that has all the references for the transcendentals. Okay, and I like to kind of read through these because they're small. Transcendentalers also see reality, levels of reality, absonite. They're in the absonite reality. They're 1,000 groups of super citizens of paradise. Okay, also known as absoniters, attached to the core of the mortal finaliters. They're concerned with the administration of the master universe. Super administration of the master universe. They have nothing to do with the super universes or Havona. They're in the paradise classification It may take place of finaliters on worlds and light and life in the next universe, basically the next stage of the universes. They're neither creators nor creatures. They're ever loyal, eventuated, and they're not created orders. An example of the transcendentalers are the architects of the master universe. You know, these are the ones that goes out to the outer space levels. Also, the associate transcendentalers are master force organizers and primary eventuated master force organizers. They're also transcendental recorders. And when you arrive in paradise, you fraternize with these recorders. There's also a reference here for the process of eventuation. And the relationship with they have a relationship with solitary messengers and inspired Trinity spirits. They are the senior architects of the master universe, is the chief of these beings. And they're subject to God, the ultimate, the last thing. Okay? Let's go into the next one. Stephen, would you take the next one, please?
Okay, Roger. That which is transcendental is not necessarily non-elemental, but it is super-revolutionary in the finite sense. Neither is it non-experiential, but is super-experience as such and meaningful to creatures. Perhaps the best illustration of such a paradox is the central universe of perfection. It is hardly absolute. Only the Paradise Isle is truly absolute in the materialized sense. Neither is it a finite evolutionary creation, as are the seven super universes. Nirvana is eternal, but not changeless in the sense of being a universe of non-growth. It is inhabited by creatures, Nirvana natives, who never were actually created, for they are eternally existent. Nirvana thus illustrates something which is not exactly finite, nor yet absolute. Nirvana further acts as a buffer between absolute paradise and finite creations, still further illustrating the function of transcendentals. But Nirvana itself is not a transcendental, it is Nirvana.
There's nothing like Nirvana because it is not transcendentals. The transcendentals have to do with paradise and creating things outside paradise, right? But Havana is populated by beings that have always been, like God the Father, okay? He created Havana, and then all the beings to populate Havana at the same time. So they always have been, as far as we're concerned. It's kind of a paradox in itself. So anything, Havana can gain, the beings can gain experience from us, but paradise is just paradise, and there's no experience gained in paradise, right? It just always has been, always will be. It's just paradise. Okay? Let's go on. Rodney.
As the supreme is associated with finites, so the ultimate is identified with transcendentals. But though we thus compare supreme and ultimate, they differ by something more than degree. The difference is also a matter of quality. The ultimate is something more than a super supreme projected on the transcendental level. The ultimate is all of that, but more. The ultimate is an evolution of nucleated realities, the qualification of new phases of the very unqualified.
Okay. Because of the experience that's given to the Supreme from all beings, okay, it's associated with finites, right? And then it goes on to tell us that the ultimate, God the ultimate, which is past the Supreme, is identified with the transcendentals. And why would that be? Because it's the transcendentals that move materials and things in the outer space levels and in the 7 super universes to create new universes, new planets, things like that. And that's identified with God the ultimate, right? All right? That's what they're talking about. The supreme and the ultimate are two different types of beings, right? They differ more than just the matter of quantity, but also the quality of what they do, okay? And they go on to tell us that the ultimate is more than just a super supreme. In other words, the ultimate's not just the progression of the supreme into the outer space level. The ultimate is within itself, okay? And the ultimate is the eventuation. In other words, it's created automatically of new deity realities. Why is that? Because it gets the experience of all the supremes going into the outer space levels, and it benefits from that, right? So it adds to the ultimate itself. I have a little slide on this, okay? You'll see this slide, it starts out with the existential deities, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit, right? And then it shows that's within paradise and the dark space bodies around it, okay? In the post-Havana epic, past the 7 super universes, God the Supreme is fully actualized, okay? From all the experience of all the beings in the 7 super universes. Then comes God the Ultimate, which is eventuated from the 4 outer space levels. During the connection with the outer space levels, you could say this is happening now, because the 4 outer space levels are developing. And God the Absolute is when all 4 of the outer space levels are completely settled, just like the 7 super universes, right? But these beings are already alive and working, right? But they're progressing from this point in time.
Since the first of the super universes has not
Settled light and life.
Yeah, then this is a really, really long way off.
This is a really, really long way off before all this comes to.
This is a really, really what?
Long way off.
Oh, okay.
Let me read the bottom of this slide because it has good information too. You can't read it from your slide probably. The deity mechanism of the Master Universe is twofold as concerns eternity relationships. God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit are eternal, are existential beings, always have been, always will be. While God the Supreme, God the Ultimate, and God the Absolute are actualizing deity personalities of the post of epics in time and space. And the time-space transcendent spheres of Master Universe evolutionary expansion, because they're being created right now. These actualizing deity personalities are future eternals from the time when and as they power personalize in the growing universe by the technique of the experiential actualization, experience of everyone, of the associative creative potential of the eternal paradise deities. So that includes all the experience of all the creator sons, everything, basically, right? All right. And what are they talking about here? They're talking about the supreme being, the unqualified absolute, and the eventuated ultimate being, and this is the absentite deity or the transcendental deities we were just talking about. Okay. Every time I go for a second. All right. So let's go on to who just read. Stephen? Rodney, would you take this one?
I just read.
Oh, did you? Okay, Diana, I'm sorry.
Among those realities which are associated with the transcendental level are the following. 1. The deity presence of the ultimate. 2. The concept of the master universe. 3. The architects of the master universe. 4. The 2 orders of paradise force organizers. 5. Certain modifications in space potency. 6. Certain values of spirit. 7. Certain meanings of mind. 8. Absonite qualities and realities. 9. Omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. 10. Space.
Okay, so these are all things associated with the transcendental level. Sorry. All right, so let's go on to the next. All
Hey,
right.
Roger,
Yeah,
on that list, the last one was space.
right.
Do you think perhaps they're referring to what we now call black matter?
No,
Is that
Rodney.
unqualified absolute?
No, they're talking about everything outside paradise. Remember, because paradise has no space, has no time. Space is only reality in relation to paradise. Okay? So the transcendentals not only deal with paradise, which has no space, but they also deal with outside paradise, which has space. That makes
So we
sense?
can also say that if you're dealing with space, you're dealing with evolution.
That's right. Anything dealing with space is evolutionary. That's correct. Right? And also, you notice here it has absonite qualities. There's a mistake there. This should be an 8 instead of a 9. Absonite qualities and realities. Absonite is above finite, right? So it's not dealing with our particular place right now. Okay? And we're going to go through a couple slides that might make this a little clearer. All right, so you read this one? Huh? Oh. The universe in which we now live may be thought of as existing on finite, transcendental, and absolute levels. This is the cosmic stage which enacted the endless drama of personality performance and energy metamorphosis. Why would we be involved with transcendental and absolute levels also? Because it was the transcendentals that created the space and the planet space for the 7 super universes. So where we live was helped created by the transcendentals, right? Also, the absolute levels, because it's in this space that develop the supreme, the ultimate supreme, and the future from the experience of what happens here, right? So it's the stage, for the cosmic stage, which everything happens, okay, personality-wise. Okay, and they talk about energy metamorphosis. That's the creation of the 7 super universes, and that which comes after it, right? So, if you think, this is a good slide that kind of reveals this, okay? If you think of paradise, it's absolute, right? Which equals timeless and spaceless. So paradise has no time and it has no space. It is just paradise, okay? Absolute is time, space, transcended. In other words, it goes through space. And this is the Havona level. Everything in the Havona level is on the Absonite level, okay? And then we have the super universe level, which is the finite. And we're time, space limited. In other words, everything we do has to do with time and space. And this is the super universe level, the 7 super universes. So this breaks down the absolute, the absonite, and the finite. Okay? All right, and after this, I stuck this slide back in again to show you what we're talking about. So we're talking about paradise here in the center, right? That's absolute. The absonite is everything within this belt here of the outer gravity belt and the inner gravity belt, all this area in here, which is Havona. Okay? And then the finite is everything in this string right here, which is the super universes, the 7 super universes. Now, what's the outer space levels? We don't know, and they don't tell us, right? What that will be. It may be a whole complete new order of existence.
Didn't you say it was each one was 7 times larger
Than the one before.
than the one before?
Yeah.
Where is that in the book?
It's in the papers on the makeup of the 7 super universes. Yeah. That's all in that chart out there.
Yeah, the chart.
Yeah. The chart of the million things. Okay. Millie, I think you're up.
And all of these manifold realities are unified absolutely by the several triunities, functionally by the architects of the master universe, and relatively by the 7 master spirits, the supreme coordinators of the divinity of God the Sevenfold.
Okay, so everything on that chart what I just had up in the background, all these triunities, okay, and all these unknown, the known triunities and the unknown triunities are all unified in this reality, including the architects of the master universe here, right, and the 7 master spirits. Which I'm going to show you a picture of that. Okay, so we have paradise here, right? And then we have the worlds of the Father and the Son and the Spirit, right? And we also have the 7 master spirits, which are out here. And then we have the 7 super universes, which are controlled by what? God the Sevenfold, right? Creator sons, the Ancients of Days, the Supreme Being, God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit. All right? This is the next page. Next one. On this one, you can see the 7 supreme executives on these worlds on the outside here. And along with them goes the 7 master spirits, right? And here we have them. The 7 master spirits, all right? And then the 7 supreme power directors, which have to do with the gravity and the power and everything physical in the universe. All right? So it's a pretty good picture of what's going on. Let me just read this because this is interesting and we have a little time left. The supreme power directors and sinners have existed from the near times of eternity. As far as we know, no more beings of these orders have been created. The 7 supreme directors were personalized by the 7 master spirits. The 7 supreme power directors are not able individually to reproduce themselves, but collectively and in association with the 7 master spirits, they can and do reproduce, create other beings like themselves, such as the origin of the supreme power centers of the grand universe. Okay? Just another piece of the puzzle. All right. We'll get close to the end. Stephen, would you take this, please?
All right. God, the sevenfold, represents the personality and divinity revelation of the universal Father to creatures of both maximum and submaximum status. But there are other sevenfold relationships of the first source and center, which do not pertain to the manifestation of the divine spiritual ministry of the God who is Spirit.
Okay, so God the sevenfold is the representation of personality and divinity of the universal Father to all the creatures of the universe. Okay, so when you see a creator son, you've seen the Son of God, and you've seen God the Father. Because he's the direct lineage of divinity. Right? Remember when Jesus says in the Jesus Papers, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father? That's what they're talking about here. He is the representation of the Father or deity to the beings of the universe. And the same goes for all the other beings of the sevenfold, right? And they are Paradise Creator Sons, the Ancients of Days, the Seven Master Spirits, the Supreme Being, God the Spirit, God the Son, and God the Father. If you've seen any of these, you've seen God the Father. They are the direct representations of deity. Okay? So what they say goes. What they say is the final word, right? Speaking of the final word, here we are. Rodney, you get the pleasure of doing the last paragraph.
All right. In the eternity of the past, the forces of the absolutes, the spirits of the deities, and the personalities of the gods stood in response to the primordial self-will of self-existent self-will. In this universe age, we are witnessing the stupendous repercussions of the far-flung cosmic panorama of the sub-absolute manifestations of the limitless potentials of all these realities. And it is altogether possible continued diversification of the original reality of the first source and center may proceed onward and outward throughout age upon age, on and on into the faraway and inconceivable stretches of absolute infinity. And this was presented by Melchizedek of Megiddo.
Okay, so basically, the self-will of God started all of this. It was God's will that all this stuff happens, right? And the past of forces of the absolute and into the future is all due to the will of God this happening, right? So it basically is the will of God that the universe expand and develop, and we experience it in this manner because it was God's will that this happens. And this goes all the way down to what? Our thought adjusters. The will of God and our thought adjusters, and us developing along this pathway so we can experience deity just as God is. Makes sense? Isn't that a beautiful thought?
Okay, Roger, I've got a question.
Go right ahead.
You said, I believe, earlier that you could reach a certain level that in 3 days you would move on. Could you explain that, please?
Yes. Number one, if you die, if you're on the third psychic level, and we're going to go over this in great detail on a paper that's coming up, not about 4 papers from now. If you reach the third psychic level, when you die on the third period, what happens is your thought adjuster goes to Divinington. They classify you as on the third level, and you're ready to go on to the mansion worlds. The Ancients of Days has to certify this. Okay? When they certify that, your thought adjuster automatically goes back to the mansion world for your repersonalization, okay, in your new body. That's what they call 3 periods or 3 days. Okay. There's also something that's called adjuster fusion that happens, it can happen on this planet. When you get totally in tune with the will of God in your life, you can be classified while you're still on this planet by the Ancients of Days of ready for transformation to the mansion worlds. And what will happen is your thought adjuster will notify you, supposedly, and you will be prepared to automatically just disappear in a big fire and go directly to the mansion worlds, and you're immediately repersonalized. Now in that case, the thought adjuster does not have to go back to Divinington because he gets his order directly that you're ready to repersonalize. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay, now the interesting thing is when you die, he has to go register you in and out on Uversa. So apparently when you're getting ready to fuse, he does that before you fuse. So it's just an interesting thing. It's in the paper, I believe it was Personality Survival, that's what's in that paper. And it's just amazing that you can get to that point, you know. So you actually don't have to die, you're just transformed into the new type of being. They have the body waiting on you. Okay? All right, let's have a little prayer and we'll close for the night. Sweetie, would you like to pray again?
Father, another wonderful paper revealed such in depth and such continuity of thought and the evolution of thought for us as humans. We just thank you for this opportunity to learn and to grow. And thank you for Mother's ability to condense it in a way that we can understand it. It's difficult to understand certain points. We just thank you for any kind of new opening in our mind to be receptive to the learning process of interpreting and understanding and applying the information that we've been studying. We just thank you so much for life, for this tremendous opportunity to grow and expand. In Jesus' Nazareth, like any other line of prayer, we thank this. Amen.
Amen. And thank you again at home for joining us. We're going to move on to a new paper next time, which will be paper 106, The Universe Levels of Reality. It's pretty heavy duty too, so hope you can join us.